Hey everyone, Pastor Jesse back here for another installment of some conversation about togetherness, back here with Mike and Becky Qualls. If you guys didn't get a chance to watch our first conversation, go back, subscribe to YouTube, go back and watch that, and you can kind of get caught up a little bit about who they are and our conversation about marriage, about mutual submission in a marriage relationship and what that looks like. And guys, I'm particularly excited about this one and this conversation with you guys about parenting, just because I know your boys and I've seen your family dynamic, and you guys have done a lot right in raising your boys. And so I'm excited to hear you guys talk a little bit more about that, and specifically about this idea of influence and how we have influence in our kids' lives as parents. This is another little tidbit of what Pastor Jim talked about in his message. So I would love to hear you guys talk about that and unpack what influence is, how we gain influence with our kids, why that matters.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Kind of first, the dilemma we live with as parents. The weight of the responsibility that we carry as parents, which is really ours to carry.
Yeah.
Honestly, I still remember the first time we left the hospital in terror. I couldn't figure out how to...
He went and got the car seat.
How do I work
Taylor
this?
in it, couldn't figure it out, and he honestly turned to the nurse and said, "You're not gonna let us leave with him, are you?" Like we have that.
Yeah,
that
first
responsibility.
ride home, you've never driven more under the speed limit than that first ride home with your first child.
Right.
And I'm a highly trained professional.
That's right. Yeah.
So, but the thing is, we have the pressure and the weight of all the things we need to accomplish with our kids.
Yeah.
All the things we want them to learn,
Yeah.
the things we want them to grasp, the things that it is our place to pass on to them.
Yeah.
Right.
We're also the giver of opportunities, and we don't want our kids to miss out on opportunities. We want them to be well-rounded and ready for life, right?
And love Jesus.
Right.
And all that.
Right.
And then on top of that,
With the quarantine, we suddenly become teachers. And we
Teachers
suddenly,
and mommy and daddy daycare and all of that.
and we suddenly feel this responsibility to make sure their education is right so they can get into the college of their choice, and they're only in the 4th grade. But there's
Long
all
way to
this
go.
pressure,
Yeah.
pressure.
right. And with that pressure of all that we have to accomplish, what tends to happen is we lose track of what we possess to influence their hearts, to influence and shape who they are and their life. Because we're busy giving them things and preparing them for things, we lose track of our relationship with them, right?
And our relationship truly is the most important thing we have to influence our children.
that is the influence, right?
Yes.
What tends to get sacrificed in the life that we live is the ability to enjoy each other, right? Because of that idea of togetherness, right,
Yeah,
Jesse?
right.
When you belong, when somebody enjoys you, right?
Yeah.
And you get to enjoy them, you belong there. And not only that, but you want to be there.
Right.
But you know what? We can get in under this pressure. What do we end up with our kids?
We can often get into our conversations and our time together are either times to talk about business or times to talk about problems.
Right.
And business and problems, that's a part of parenting.
Yeah, those matter. Sure, certainly.
Right.
So we do have to talk about business, but in parenting, the business can be, did you do your chores?
Right.
Is your homework done? The questions of brushing your teeth, like, did you do these things?
It can almost feel more like task management than relationship management almost.
And then you think about business conversations for kids. It's usually asking.
Right.
Can I have this? Can I go there? Can I?
I think my daughter's favorite 5 words are, "Can I have a snack?"
Exactly. And think about what it does to a relationship when it's just about business.
Right.
Parent, have you ever thought of the only time you talk to me is when you want something from me?
Yeah.
Right? And then your kids say...
as a kid, they may think the only time you talk to me is when you're telling me to do something.
Telling me to do something.
Right. So you got business, And now you got problems.
Right.
Problems are what happens when the business doesn't get taken care of.
Right.
Right? So
Or when something comes up that has to be dealt with. And those things are a part of life.
Yeah.
Again, those things need to happen. But when that becomes the focal point of our relationship or dealing with business and problems, we miss out on that enjoyment of each other.
Right.
We miss out on that ability to build our relationship deeper so that it is more than just business and problems.
If you sat down and go, I'm going to take 10 minutes. And I'm going to take each one of my kids and I'm going to make a list.
Yeah.
Here's what I enjoy about you. Here's what I enjoy about you. Here are your qualities. Here are the things that I truly enjoy about you.
And in the busyness of life and all the pressure we just talked about, it's not too often that parents just sit down and think in that way.
Right.
What are the things I specifically enjoy about each one of our children? And then the next question is, what do they enjoy about me?
Right? What do they enjoy about me? But here's a tricky part. If you're a parent, do you ever notice that in trying to accomplish all the things to helping your kids be who God meant them to be, you can get hyper-focused on what's wrong with them? And you could tend to relate to them in the way that they haven't arrived.
I completely,
right?
I can completely resonate
Right.
with that.
You have a child who doesn't get themselves up on time. So what happens? Your thought goes to, they don't get themselves up on time. How are they ever going to hold a job? How are they ever going to have a productive life? And now
you take that
happened
all
to
the
them
way
in
to
college?
the nth degree.
Right. And now they're homeless. So now,
Or living in my basement, even
right.
worse.
But here's what happens now. Now I have to do something about this. So now I only relate to you as irresponsible because we have to get this figured out. And they feel loved and they feel cherished. And I feel totally justified because I'm a little scared. I've got to help you be the person God meant you to be. If we end up hating each other, I will do that.
I am gonna, right.
But it is easy to keep that focus on here's the things that need to be corrected. And don't get us wrong, that's part of our job as parents is to help them grow, help them develop, help them mature as they grow in years and age, that there's things in their life that change. But we have far more influence to do that if we also are enjoying one another. The next piece is to actually make time to enjoy our kids. And we have more time now that things are a little more dialed into our home.
In some ways we have been, yeah.
But, when things are back to normal, whatever that will look like, back in the day before we were quarantined and all, we could be so busy going from one activity to another and, maybe watching them in a practice or taking them to do something, but how much time do we actually get with each other? And this is what we practiced in our home with our kids are grown now and married, but we always made sure that we had time every day to enjoy each other. And we just called it our family time. But in that time, we played games, we played Nerf, we shot Nerf guns in the dark.
Yeah.
How many Christmases did we get a Nerf gun from the boys? That was our gift. But turn out all the lights and you hide and seek in the dark with Nerf guns. You play games. Little kids, you do little games.
Yeah.
But you get down to where they are. You play on their terms. You do things they enjoy. You be willing to take part in the things they enjoy that are really maybe not what we enjoy.
Yeah.
But you get into their world and you play with them. And we always made sure we had, 30 minutes a day that we just had as a time to play together.
Right. And almost what you said even harkened back to our last conversation about, what's the kid's perspective, and thinking about it in terms of, how can I submit to what they want to do?
Yeah.
Because I know for me, sometimes I can get in that, man, you get home, it's been a long day, it's been a long week. Sometimes you just want to do what you want to do.
Right.
Which is fine. There's a place where you have to find that for yourself,
right,
for your own health. But but that's key, I think.
Right.
Relate to them
Because
on their
otherwise,
level.
business and problems will crowd us out, right? And they will crowd out that ability to enjoy. And we just relate to each other in business and problems. We will not be drawn to each other. That's kind of how God made us.
The people we are drawn to are the people who influence us.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to enjoy each other.
And just a couple of practical things.
Sure.
If you have young kids, they want to play with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
They want to. You are their playmate. Now, the mistake parents make as their kids get larger is they go, I am now obsolete. The world has gotten larger. They don't need me, so they will pull back from that. Be careful not to do that. Make this a part of your rhythm of your family.
Yeah.
And just go, this is what we do because our relationship depends on it. Because if I'm going to be dealing with business with you, you also need to know I like you.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
And then if you have older kids and it feels like they have outgrown you, that's daunting.
And it's not true.
And it's not true.
I mean, it is the norm. Like you see teenagers no longer wanting to spend time with their parents, but that isn't, I don't believe, how God intended it to be.
And
like
I don't even think it's really how kids are. Right? If you're doing that, invite them into your play. If you put out a puzzle and your kids come home in the evening from their activity and you're sitting and working a puzzle, I wouldn't turn to a teenager and go, we're going to have family time. Because a teenager doesn't know what to do with that if that's not a part of their life. But if you have a puzzle and you go, hey, what's up? And they come and they sit down and all of a sudden they start dinking with your puzzle and you're just having a conversation.
Right.
And now you just make it a part of your family. When the boys would come home from high school and from college and they bring their friends over and all of a sudden there's 10 people sitting around working the puzzle in the living room. If we would have said, guys, we planned an activity. And they'll go, where do we sign up for such a thing? Right?
Right.
But it's that idea of just creating that to go, I want a chance to enjoy you. One of the dangers of when you're trying to enjoy someone is drifting back to a problem.
Because you can start thinking, well, you know, where things are going so well, this would be a good time to remind them of whatever it is that's been a problem in the past.
And then you end up
and that's a bad idea because then it's like, oh, we're supposed to be having fun and now we're having conflict again.
Right.
So those things, please hear us. Conflict, problems have to be dealt with. Business has to be dealt with. But in this time that we set aside as our family time, that time is not the time to have business and problem conversations.
Yeah, make it sacred to enjoy one another. And tell yourself that and don't get drawn into that conversation, right? Because, so what do you talk about? Have small talk with your kids. Talk about things that don't even necessarily matter, but matter to both of you. And if you stumble onto an important conversation, praise God. But if you don't, it wasn't a waste of time.
Right.
Right? Because you're there to enjoy them and for them to enjoy you.
Man, so good. What do I enjoy about my kids and what do they enjoy about me? That a lot of stuff to think about there. Thanks for sharing that perspective. Once again, guys, Mike and Becky are going to be here for one more. So going to be talking actually about some of that, about conflict, about some of that. So please, again, subscribe to our Facebook and our YouTube so you can enjoy some more of this content. Glad to have you guys here.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.